morning. Today on Spotlight, we'll focus on two important summer traditions, the annual Woodward Dream Cruise and the Detroit Jazz Fest. Both events attract millions of people and dollars to our region. So what's on tap for this year? We'll put that question to our guests. Cruise Executive Director Tony Michaels, Ford Motor Company's Jim Owens, restoration expert Jeff Atwell, the owners of these two Dream Cruise classics, and Jazz Fest President Chris Collins. It's Sunday, August the 13th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Well, you know summer's almost over when we start talking about the Dream Cruise. Still have a little more vacation time left, but it's coming. Tony Michaels, how big of an economic impact has this event become?
It's big. It's well over $125 million to this community.
That's a nice shot in the arm.
It really is. 9 great communities, 16 miles, 1 million people, over 40,000 collector cars going down Woodward. And now presenting sponsor Ford Motor Company, which is just a great story. It really is.
It's a perfect match for the company that put the world on wheels, right, Jim Owens?
Well, if you think about it, you know, I work right now for a gentleman by the name of Henry Ford III. Okay. Right? So I work for the direct lineage of the founder for the company. And if you think about it, Woodward Route 1 was the original, I believe, was the original first paved road.
Right. The first highway.
First highway in the United States. And so if you think of Henry's dream was to put America on wheels. And what better way to celebrate that than with the communities around the Detroit area that are doing the Woodward Dream Cruise on the first paved road? I think Henry would be pleased, and I know my boss, Henry, is really glad that we are reinvesting not only in the local communities, but to our enthusiasts around the world and here in Detroit.
There's nothing like it in America, first of all. There's nothing like it. The largest cruise there is. Different, Ford is bringing different to the picture, including driving skills for life with Ford Fun, the things you have always done, and stepping up in Ferndale with Mustang Alley.
So it's eye candy, but there's also information, right?
Absolutely. And if you think about it, the enthusiasts that you see cruise up and down Woodward and, you know, smiling for the camera on Channel 7, those folks are already enthusiast drivers. The Ford Fund and the Driving Skills for Life takes younger kids and teaches them to be safe drivers so that 20 years from now they'll be cruising up and down carefully and safely on Woodward, and then 20 years from now the Woodward Dream Cruise.
Are there any new events that come along with this new sponsorship?
Well, so we've always, 19 years, we've been doing the Woodward Dream Cruise and 9 Mile in Ferndale. We used to do Revving with Ford in Cheyne Park, if you remember that, years ago, I think 2000, 2001, maybe we had the Beach Boys come up in Cheyne Park. So our activation has evolved over the years, but this is about reinforcing our enthusiasts, to our enthusiasts. And we are going to have, along Woodward, all of the race cars that you can actually buy. They're bought as a part number, but these are race cars that you can, that's going to be up in Normandy Plaza. And then out at Dugan's, we're going to have all of the Ford performance vehicles, including the all-new Ford GT that won in Le Mans back in the 60s and then won again in 2016. So we're going to have all of the flavors of performance and classic cars for our consumers with Woodward Dream Cruise this year.
I can't wait to see it. Tony Michaels, a lot of people talk about that Saturday, the 19th of August. That's the big day for the Dream Cruise, but it's much more than that. This has become a week-long event. I mean, starting Monday of that week, you're going to see people with their classic cars, their classic trucks, their hot rods, their muscle cars, all up and down Woodward and other places.
It's incredible. It has already started, of course, started weeks ago. But the official day is Saturday. we keep saying
Who cares about officialdom, right?
It's the official day, and but people just love it. They can't get enough of it. And there's just a great evolution of this event coming with, the great collector cars for people who, are in their 40s now. It's a whole different car that they started with, when they were 16 and 17. So this just
nostalgia for me is different than nostalgia for my kids.
Exactly, and so that is so exciting, this evolution, and the great things that Ford is doing and bringing to the table. There's nothing like it in America.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Spotlight. Tony Michaels, Jim Owens with me talking about cars, trucks, and everything in between. Before we talk about the broadcast, which is an important part of this, Channel 7 is very much involved. How important are volunteers to making this event a success?
Well, volunteers are important to every event, and this is right in there because the cities rely on volunteers to help. The souvenir sales, the merchandise sales are done through nonprofit groups to help their groups with percentages of the sales. So it's important, and we're very fortunate. The cities are so fortunate to have these great people.
Jim, nostalgia is a big part of this, but Ford is not in the business of making money off of just nostalgia. They want you to buy cars and trucks today. How does this translate to the contemporary showmanship, commercialism, and then the love of what you're producing?
Yeah, like locally, we can't thank enough our Ford dealers' support for both the enthusiasts and the cars and trucks that they sell that are going to be the future classics, that are going to be on Woodward Dream Cruise. So the dealers understand that, and we can't say thank you enough to our local Ford dealers who are doing that. So it is creating that car culture. Ford knows how America moves, right? From Henry back in 1901, 116 plus years later, we're still actually knowing how America moves, and creating enthusiasts creates those people who would see those cars and buy them in the future. So we're not looking back towards our heritage, but we're standing on that heritage and looking forward and selling these cars and trucks to the people, the million people who attend the Woodward Dream Cruise.
You guys at XYZ, through Scripps, syndicate this throughout America. It's going to be in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York.
Close to 85% of the country will be able to see what happens here during Dream Cruise Week. Dream
Cruise presented by Ford will be national, and that is so huge for our city and our community because it puts us on that stage. And
how much does it feed into changing the stereotype that a lot of places and people have about Detroit who perhaps have never been here before when they see this?
Substantially, because you hear great things about the comeback of our city and our community and this whole region. This just puts a stamp on that, and it does it in a great way because this is Americana. This is really Americana, and we are so thankful for what you guys do at XYZ.
Well, we're glad to do it. It's fun to do, and it's what we're all about.
Right, yeah. And the other piece, Chuck, if I could add, is here's a global company, Ford, that never forgets their home, and they do so many great things in this city, and yet they're all over the globe doing great things, and we're so thankful. Thank you, Jim, and thank you.
In addition to that, we'll have a 2-hour primetime broadcast on Saturday, and then an encore performance on Sunday. On that particular Sunday, actually Spotlight won't be on because people will be able to watch the rebroadcast of the Dream Cruise, which is good, and it gives me a break. Jim, thanks so much for coming in. Best of luck with everything in Ford. Tony, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And coming up, we'll take you to a place that makes dreams for classic cars and trucks come true. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is Jeff Adwell, and he is the owner of Motor City Solutions. Jeff, thanks for joining us today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about this place. I see some wonderful, wonderful restored cars.
Well, this is a building full of passion is what it is. We have a little bit of flavor of everything in here, and you'll find everything from tail lights being out to full restorations going on and everything in between.
How long have you been in this business of making people's dreams come true?
We've been doing this full time for 5 years. Been around for 17 years. I'm doing some other things and dabbling in the restoration world, but in 2012 we decided to go at it full time.
So tell me the typical story. Who walks through that door and what they usually want to have done and why?
Mostly it's people that have a car that's been in the family for a while, or have one like the one that their father owned or somebody in the family owned or grandfather owned, and they want to kind of relive that experience.
I have a 66 Mustang.
How did you get it?
I actually received that car when I was 16 from my mom and dad, and surprised me when I came back from a trip in high school. And it was in the parking lot, so wonderful story. After it was given to me, my dad had passed away in an accident a couple weeks after that, so it was never going to leave our garage. It has been from garage to garage. We have driven it in parades, we've driven it in shows, of course the Woodward Dream Cruise, and then Novice 50s Festival when that was in full swing in the 90s. We drove it in those shows as well. But we had a lot of fun with it, and then life happens, and we had 2 kids, and focused on the kids for a long time and kind of let the car set aside. And
life takes over.
Life does take over, yeah. Get busy, and for my 50th birthday, my husband said it's time. We're gonna get this puppy restored and on the road again. So that was a huge gift from him.
There's obviously a lot of sentimental value in that Mustang. It's a beautiful car.
Thank you.
Could anyone ever pay you enough to take that off your hands?
No, you know, how I view it is that I had 2 wonderful men in my life.
Right. It's okay.
My dad.
Take your time.
And my mom, who had given it to me, and then my husband giving me the gift for restoration. So it represents a ton of love.
I trust that all the family members know that that car should stay in your family
absolutely.
Forever.
Yeah. I now have 3 grandsons, and they
told them they better not ever sell that
car.
Oh
yeah,
right?
nope.
Or wreck it.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's one of those things where, you know, it'll get passed down to whom I'm not sure, but they'll enjoy it. They'll probably have to share it.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Chuck.
And best of luck to you and your family.
Thank you.
And the Mustang.
Thank you so much.
All right. Tell me the story behind your Monte Carlo.
Well, it was 1971. I was driving a Volkswagen, which in the summer, which you couldn't shut the heat off, and I needed a vehicle that was larger because my wife was pregnant with our first child.
Okay.
So we went shopping for a car, and we ended up at Mark Chevrolet in Wayne, and selected one off the lot, and picked it up on June the 18th, 1971.
You're the original owner. No one else has ever owned this car.
Nope, original owner, and drove it for 9 years, 152,000 miles, and by that time it was getting a little ragged, so when I moved to my new house, we parked it because it needed work done on it, and there it sat for 34.5 years. Waiting for the kids to grow up, out of college, you know, and never seemed to have the money or time, you know, to get it done, but when I moved out of the house, I decided it wasn't going to be parked again, so that's when I brought it here to Motor City Solutions.
What do you hope happens with that car? You want it to stay in the family? Want grandkids to have it?
Well, I don't plan on doing anything except driving it until I can't drive it anymore. And when my grandkids, you know, are old enough, or when I pass, then it's going to be passed on to them. Hopefully they'll enjoy it as much as I have. My brother asked me why I did it in black. I says, I needed something to do the rest of my life to clean this car.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy it.
Oh, I am.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
My full restoration is rare. I think we've done 7 full restorations in 5 years. So it's been more of maintenance. I say there's a real need out there, a real want out there for a place you can take your classic to and just get repaired. You know, and when you buy these cars, you don't really realize that maybe the brake lights aren't working, or the radio doesn't work, interior lights don't work, just things like that that they don't pick up on, and there's need to find someone to do that. So that's been a big part of our business.
Why do you think the Dream Cruise is such a big phenomenon here in Detroit, and it seems to grow every year? And why this city, this state?
Well, it's the Motor City, right? I mean, I can remember, I had a brother 14 years older than me, and he bought a 68 Camaro brand new, and we lived 3 blocks from Woodward Avenue.
Okay.
And
so you saw him going up and down Woodward all the time, all the hot rods.
We were down by 6 Mile in Woodward, but he'd throw us in the car and take us up to Ted's Coney Island and things like that, so we saw it firsthand as a kid. And then it went flat for so many years, and there was a lot of buzz about redoing that, bringing that back to life. There's something about, I've said it before, it's a transportation device that we just are so passionate about, whether it's a car, a motorcycle, a bicycle, an airplane, a tractor. there's something about them things that just brings the most out in us.
Is it a stereotype to say this is just a car guy's world?
Well,
that
is
women
a stereotype.
are into this
Yeah,
now
there's
too?
a stereotype to this car, but I'm finding if you listen, the women are behind this as much as the men.
Is that right?
That's right. Women historically are not comfortable coming into an auto shop environment. And so they send their husbands in, but when you listen to it and listen to them talk, they talk to their wife, and she's the one that's behind it. More, as much as the guys, I'd say.
You were telling me that some of the employees now, the young employees that are coming in, are more women than they are guys.
That's right. Especially in the artistic side, such as metal fabricators and things like that. It's the younger females that are so more interested in that than the boys. We haven't had any 22-year-old boys walk through the door wanting to do this work, but we've had several young females come in, and they love to do the metal work. And some of the custom jobs, like I showed you that 36 Dodge truck over there, there's custom metal work on that, and the females, they love that side of it.
Jeff Atwell, what's your dream?
What is my dream? I'm one of those guys, I bounce around a bit, to be honest with you, but the thing that I found the most inspiring with doing this is all the stories. Every one of these cars has a great story behind it, and there's so much passion, and you get to help other people make their dreams come true. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but when you really experience it, it really does hit home.
Jeff, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chuck.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
When Spotlight returns, we'll tell you what's on tap to fill up public spaces like this on Labor Day weekend. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is Chris Collins. He is the president and artistic director of the Detroit Jazz Festival. Chris, welcome back.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Hey, this is our annual rite of pilgrimage, right?
You and me, baby.
Let me take you back a little bit.
All right.
1980.
Yeah.
Bob McCabe.
Oh, man.
Started all of this. What do you think he would say if he were here today, see what's happening outside this window, and look at the lineup for this year's Jazz Fest?
He has seen the evolution of this Jazz Festival firsthand. We were lucky to have him with us for quite a long time, so he got to see the expansion of the footprint and everything. Right. But I tell you, the lineup this year I think would please him, because we often spoke, he and I, about the idea of the legacy players like Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Stanley Clark, Dee Dee Bridgewater, but the need to evolve jazz and inspire younger generations to not only participate as artists, but to engage as audiences and mix and mingle with the stalwart jazz fans. So there can be some mentoring.
And you got them coming this year. I mean, you got the headliners. You don't have to put the name up there and turn to someone and say, who is that? If you don't know who this lineup is, something's wrong with you.
That's it. And something real exciting, a special announcement. I want to make sure we get to it because it happened moments ago. Right. We are able to confirm that once again this year, Quicken Loans has come on as presenting sponsor, and it actually adds 2 amazing new pieces to the program, and we want to announce it on your show.
All right, go ahead.
So now it's the Detroit Jazz Festival presented by Quicken Loans, and they are featuring their sponsored series called the Untitled Series. So we have their Untitled artist, Kareem Riggins. He's going to be coming on Sunday. Kareem Riggins with Common and other special guests, man, dig that. And then a couple days later, he's going to return in a duo setting with the great Esperanza Spalding.
Ooh.
And they're going to use electronics and things to create something real beautiful. And this is the kind of example, along with Miles Mosley and Kamasi Washington, that are artists that are attracting a new generation, a new texture.
I was just going to say, this reaches out to the millennials.
It does.
The young generation that's coming up that may not have been heavy into jazz the way we older folks were, but it's now introducing them to it to be able to say jazz is cool too.
That's it. And while they're there watching Kamasi or listening to Common and Kareem, they're also going to check out Herbie Hancock and Benny Golson and Wayne Shorter, our artist in residence. This is the hope. And not only will it be intermingling of those generations in our audience, but Herbie Hancock, you check out his band or Wayne Shorter's band, you're going to see that they're dipping into multi-generations too, to feed off the new energy, new ideas, and the wisdom of the ages, kind of mixing and mingling to move this art forward and give all of us something we've never heard before.
Absolutely. Talk about the economic impact of this event and what it means for Detroit in terms of the world stage?
Well, you know, as the largest free jazz festival in the world, that's something every Detroiter can be proud of. That doesn't exist anywhere.
That word F-R-E-E is real important.
It's important, thanks to our sponsors and our donors and the incredible folks.
Generosity.
It's incredible. But once you take that and you set that in the middle of a city like Detroit, now we are finding we are drawing over 300,000 people to the festival over 4 days, almost a third of which are from outside the state of Michigan. So that means we're bringing in money for hotels, we're bringing in money for restaurants, for businesses, and the beauty of it is once they get here, they can enjoy Detroit because the festival's free.
And that keeps Larry Alexander and the folks at the Convention Bureau happy, but it also serves, this event serves as an ambassador for this region to be able to say, hey, whatever you thought before about Detroit, take a look now at what's going on.
That's right, and you can look at it firsthand, or you can look at it through our new app, live.detroitjazzfest.org. You register for free, and for $10 before the festival, you get to live stream video and audio of all 4 stages, all 4 days. And what that does to anyone in North America, they can get a firsthand view of the family-friendly atmosphere, the jazz music that's in the DNA of the city, the wonderful architecture and vibe of Detroit. They can get past the headlines and see what's really happening here in hopes that they might want to take a step over our threshold, check it out for themselves.
Well, you got so many different great artists coming in. You also have Regina Carter. She's going to come in and she's doing something special. Tell us about that.
She is many 100th anniversary celebrations this year. One in particular is the great Ella Fitzgerald. And as opposed to having, you know, a vocal celebration, we wanted to show how Ella has touched every musician there is, and Regina has done that beautifully.
She worked with a boatload.
This is she touched everyone. She helped us all understand how to interpret this music. But now Regina comes along with a very special set that brings elements and inspiration from Ella Fitzgerald into her instrumental performance, and that's on Monday, and it's part of our Homecoming series where we bring our homecoming artists home. It's always a very special moment.
All right, the Detroit Jazz Fest, September 1st through the 4th, Labor Day weekend in Motown music. It's one of the things we're absolutely known for, and if you like jazz, if you like music, you want to be here. And of course, Chris Collins, he's been working on this all year long. Chris, thanks so much.
My pleasure,
We
man.
appreciate it.
Great.
And we want to thank you at home for joining us. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.